Oh yeah. So continuing on from my video where I converted my 29er to 27.5 Plus, I ran into some issues with the 3-inch WTB Bridger tires. First, the rear tire was threatening to tear off my front derailleur. So I tore it off, and I went with a 1x setup. No big deal, because I was going to do that anyway. Then the rear tire was rubbing the derailleur cable. No big deal again. I just put some cable housing on that section and taped it to my chainstay to get it out of the way. But I was still getting some tire rub in the rear when things got rowdier when I really leaned into turns, but I could deal with that. Then I upgraded my fork from a spring fork to air, and that increased my stanchions from 32 to 34 millimeters, and subsequently decreased my front tire clearance, which caused the tires to rub on every little bump. Now with the 3-inch Bridgers, it was also easy to notice that, like a lot of Plus tire offerings, the knob profile is really low and they're smaller, relying more on the surface area for grip, as well as being really balloony feeling and squirmy in the sidewalls. They felt pretty thin, weak, and not very puncture resistant. So I figure if I had to get new tires, that I would go way more aggressive and try the new MAXXIS Minions DHF and DHR2 Plus tires. Now just looking at them, they're like night and day in comparison to the WTB Bridgers. And also going from 3 inches to 2.8 inches was all I needed for tire clearance, front and rear. I don't get any tire rub. Now so far, I have about 4 months and 600 miles on the MAXXIS Minions, and I can see why everyone is crazy about the DHF and DHR in general. Yes, they're a bit burly, and you could cry about weight and rolling resistance, but the grip and control is insane, both going up and down. Gone is the squirmy sidewall feeling of the flimsy Bridgers. The support has been impeccable, but I still feel the suppleness of what a Plus tire should give you. I'm about 160 pounds with all my gear, and I run 14 psi in the front and 16 psi in the rear, and that seems to provide a perfect balance of comfort, grip, and support. I did fill these up with double the orange sealant that was recommended, as well as adding 3 different types of glitter for extra puncture protection. And after riding a whole enchilada in Moab and ripping around Grand Junction and Fruta, in my opinion, being a weight weenie about mountain bike tires is counterproductive. I'll take the weight penalty from a burlier tire and more sealant for the peace of mind and time saved not fixing punctures trailside, especially with my riding buddies waiting for me. Now for these DHF and DHR, I went with the 3C XO Max TERRA casings with 120 threads per inch up front for suppleness and 60 threads per inch in the rear for durability, as the rear wears faster than the front. It seems to be a good balance. And I think that next time, I would only do the 3C casing on the front and then do the double down casing in the rear just for that extra protection. But in the past 4 months and 600 miles, I haven't had one puncture, and I'm incredibly impressed with the sidewall durability. I've taken these on some gnarly trails where I can hear the rocks pinging my tires and trying to cut at the sidewalls, and I'm expecting a slash or a puncture. But voila, nothing. They've performed beautifully. And as far as speaking to the effectiveness of the sealant and the glitter, how can anyone say how well their sealant is until the sealant's all dried up and you're inconvenienced with a puncture? But I did have a ride where I didn't have enough pressure and I burped out some glitter. That's about it. If you look at the before and after of the knobs, they are worn down quite a bit. And as expected, some of the square edges aren't as tall and crisp anymore, but I still feel really confident on the trail riding these. It's almost like I've kind of broken them in. And even though I'm close to needing to replace these soon, I feel like I've gotten my money's worth out of these tires, and I would definitely recommend and buy them again. A lot of people were shying away from the Plus tire movement because the tire offerings were horrible, but if you're willing to add a little bit of weight for more aggressive grip, durability, and puncture protection, I think these are definitely the way to go. Now thank you guys for all the subscriptions, likes, and comments. They mean the world to me, so keep them coming. And thanks for watching.
Such a gnarly trail.